All right, I'm here with our keynote speaker for ATSNJ 2021. Really excited to have a discussion with you, Kevin. You really bring to light a topic here that is so important for us as athletic trainers, and I'm going to let you mention that. But Kevin Silva is the clinical coordinator of education at Salem State University for the athletic training education program. And again, you are our keynote speaker here at ATSNJ 2021. So I want to get right into your topic of, do athletic training students demonstrate behaviors associated with emotional intelligence skills? First of all, why is emotional intelligence important for athletic trainers to better understand?
So first off, thank you for having me, on. I know I have a short window of time here, but one of the most important parts of why athletic trainers need this, what I call the missing link, is because we're often told that we have to perform in a certain way. So whether that be communicate effectively, whether that, represent all those key aspects of professionalism, but we often don't give students and young professionals the foundational skills, the building blocks to allow somebody to recognize what effective communication is. How do you effectively demonstrate empathy? And all of those key concepts are rooted in emotional intelligence, and whether you can recognize, regulate, utilize emotions, then to better understand and influence and manage social and emotional situations that we run into when we're delivering patient care, whether that be with the people we work with, such as coaches, administrators, colleagues, and then obviously the patients.
And that's so crucial that we do understand what all makes up emotional intelligence. And kind of, you talked a lot about perception in your presentation, the importance of self-perception and what other people see us as. And I want to also get into those core emotional intelligence competencies. And I love how that diagram you showed about unproductive state versus a productive state. Can you break that down a little bit when you're unproductive versus productive emotional intelligence realm?
Absolutely. So the model that I like to use for emotional intelligence, and it's really a framework, it's created by the Genos group, is out of Australia. So I do want to give them credit for these 7 kind of factors or competencies. And they all are associated with behaviors, like you said. And the best way to describe this is there's 2 types of people who work in the workplace. And this can be any setting. It's universal to human interaction. And what I call the wrecking ball people, who are very unproductive, and they leave a trail of kind of emotional baggage or emotional complications with the people they work with, whether it be patients or colleagues. And in those unproductive states, these individuals are sometimes seen as temperamental, insensitive, guarded, inauthentic, and they tend to have problems interacting on a professional level, whether that's communicating with patients or colleagues or demonstrating empathy. These individuals also tend to be reactive. And so they kind of lead themselves down a pathway of maybe not so good decision-making when it comes to interpersonal behaviors. Then on the other side of this is more of a pilot or a navigator, somebody who can see from a bird's eye view the emotional and social aspects of human interaction. And these are the individuals who are very productive. They have higher levels of emotional intelligence. They're able to recognize not only emotions in themselves, but in others. And they end up being more present, more empathetic. They come off more authentic. They're the calm, cool, collected one. They have much better control of how they interact with others and how they approach situations.
And I think you talked about the amygdala hijack, and that's happening when we're drifting to the left of this. Yep. We get controlled by our emotions versus being self-aware of what we're feeling. And I think that's a tough thing to do, to really become self-aware to that level that when it's coming before it actually happens.
No, you're absolutely correct. And the amygdala hijacking, really, when somebody has a hyper-stimulated limbic system and their neurobiology is rapidly responding to stimuli, and this could be, for example, even approaching maybe a coach that is very difficult to work with or you don't have a good rapport with. And before you even start that conversation, your amygdala is starting to prepare yourself for that fight or flight response. And so you're already entering that conversation or that experience with heightened levels of cortisol and adrenaline in your system. And if you get into that fast reactive pathway, just like you said, we're impulsive, we're reactive. We may say or do things that we know aren't, maybe appropriate or handle them the right way. We kind of are controlled by our emotions, whereas individuals who have better control of those situations, and it starts, like you said, with that reflective inner control of why do you feel frustrated in this scenario, or why do you leave this experience stressed or anxious? And those are much more productive experiences once you can harness that skill set of why your behaviors are maybe coming out the way that they are in those certain situations. And so that slower pathway, the individual is more calm, cool, collected, more calculated, more thoughtful. They listen better, and they typically talk less.
So how do we get there? I want to leave things off with your top 1 or 2 action steps for athletic trainers to better demonstrate those emotional intelligence behaviors to stay on that slower pathway.
So I think the first thing that athletic trainers need to do, and this is why I'm so interested in this topic, is because we don't talk about it enough. And we spend so much time on the hard skill and knowledges that we need to do our job. But if I had to start somewhere, I would ask people to step backwards a little bit, see what's going on, observe their surroundings, observe how they are in their surroundings. So the perception of other people, and then start with that reflection process of saying, okay, when I'm frustrated at work, why? And it's not just kind of journaling, or it's not just kind of thinking like, okay, I was frustrated today. It's digging deep into that one moment of why you were frustrated, why you were stressed. And again, I use frustrated and stressed a lot, but why did you feel burnt out at the end of the day? Or why did you have some type of negative emotional state from something that happened at work or happened with a patient or a colleague? And reflect deep into that one moment of why, and try to unpack what's driving that feeling. And then now you're in the kind of pilot seat or the navigator seat to say, okay, how am I going to stop that from happening that way again? And as you get better at it and identifying that emotional response, you can then be the one in control of managing that situation, and you'll be able to predict the outcome. You'll be able to actually have positive influence over the people you're working with, and so on and so forth. So reflection and really stepping back and looking at what's going on around you from a 360 view.
Look at yourself from the balcony. That's what you got to do. You got to be aware, and that's such a crucial thing. I really appreciate you bringing this topic out and diving into it. Thank you so much for your time, Kevin, and I look forward to seeing some other great stuff from you coming down the road.
Thank you for having me.